experts disagreed with one another. Both of their testimonies were very credible, and it's difficult for the court to distinguish them. The prosecution's expert conceded that he was not 100% certain that it was Regan Klein that sent the text message. Other people did have the opportunity and the motive to send it. And so because the court can find a reasonable interpretation leading to a conclusion that the defendant is innocent of count one, the defendant is found not guilty of count one. With respect to count two, making criminal threats, we have an admission from the defendant that she was the one that drafted the threatening message to Sawyer Smith. The court finds, based on the testimony of Sawyer Smith, that Sawyer Smith was in reasonable, sustained fear based on that text message. And the catfishing activities that the defendant engaged in, despite the testimonies of the witnesses, those are designed to inflict harm. They're designed to hurt somebody else. And based upon the testimony and the evidence that the court heard, the court does find beyond a reasonable doubt the defendant is guilty of count two, the crime of making criminal threats. So, I'm going to make some very brief comments, and before I do that, I'm going to have the score sheets collected by the CRF officials. Do you guys? So we've now, have we got all the score sheets now? All right. So I'll be brief because I know each of our distinguished scorekeepers will have lots of good comments to make. I just want to say to both teams, our future is in good hands. We are very fortunate. With young people like you growing up, I can't wait for you to grow up, actually. We need you. So, wow, you guys are great. Both teams were fantastic. I apologize to the motion attorneys for all of my interruptions, but you both handled those extremely well. It's not easy when you're trying to make an argument when some guy in a black robe is interrupting you with questions. So, good job, both of you. All of the attorneys were fantastic, especially cross-examination by all attorneys on both sides. Unbelievably great, just fantastic. Witnesses, Sawyer Smith had me in tears. And I think that's what won the case for the prosecution on count two. So, anyway, good luck to both teams in the future. You're all awesome people, and if you ever become lawyers, I would welcome you at any time in my courtroom because you guys are just great, so way to go. So I'm going to let Judge Miller go first. I know she's...
Hi. Okay. So, after umpteen years of scoring, coaching, with this gentleman over here, and watching and judging these competitions, I do have to say this was one of the best rounds that I've ever seen. Your maturity, your grasp of the case and the intricacies of the case was amazing. I'm not quite sure how you condense 20 pages of single-spaced witness statements and discern the most important parts and get those out during trial. I wish the attorneys that have been in front of me could do that. And I'm sure that's echoed from all the bench officers that are in here, because our trials go on and on. This will probably be 2-3 weeks worth of trial instead of 2 hours. So you guys are fabulous, whichever team goes on. I just want to commend your attorney coaches, your teacher sponsors, the parents and other students who supported you, and all the hours that you put in to bring you here today. And I'd also like to thank our court reporter who gave us never seen a court reporter. They type, she's typing exact words, but what she's really doing is this funky shorthand over here that none of us can read unless you've gone to school. So do take a look at that, and thank you again. It's been an amazing morning, and good luck in the final rounds.
So I'm David Outwater. I did tell you I was on the board of CRF and a local trial attorney. What I did not tell you is I coached a team for 17 years. And so first and foremost, a big round of applause for your teacher and your attorney coach. I tell you that only because I want you to know that the team that Linda used to coach for a while and that I was the lead coach for about 15 years was in this room where you are now 10 times walking out 8 times victorious. There's no way I'm staying for the afternoon, because just sitting here waiting in anticipation brings back like stress from the prior experience. So I'm never coming back to an afternoon round. I'm not going to be here for that. So good luck with that. Good luck with that. I do want to tell you though, in the so about 6 years ago, I retired from coaching, and it's so nice to sit here as a scorer and just grade you as opposed to grab the leg of whomever is sitting next to me while watching the team. But I want to tell you that I've never given as much tens as I have ever scoring as an attorney than I did today, this morning. So
congratulations to all our teams for reaching this point and for their presentations today. You've been absolutely amazing. At this point, it's pretty much baked into the cake as far as your presentations. I don't really have a lot of criticisms or constructive criticisms to offer at this point, and I don't know that I can really think of it. So that makes it difficult. I wanted to say that one thing is I was so impressed with is your command of the courtroom. Your physicality here, how easily you moved and walked back and forth, used your hand gestures. Your eye contact was amazing. I did think that one particular moment of the trial I did want to comment on, and was the when Reagan Klein was testifying, and you were zeroing in on her with, "It happened that day, it happened that day, it happened that day." That was almost a Perry Mason moment for me. I was so impressed with it.
Do they know who Perry Mason is?
Who here knows who Perry Mason is? Not so much up here. After this is all over, look, I'll just briefly explain it to you. Perry Mason was an old TV show. Even I watch it as reruns. I'm not as old as some, but probably one of the oldest people in this room. But there would always be a moment. He was a defense attorney? Yeah, defense attorney. When they'd have, the victim on the stand, and basically the victim would admit to this amazing cross-examination, "Yes, I did it. I killed myself." that was the kind of moment I thought. And what I also noticed, having presided over a number of rounds of this same case, two things I wanted to point out. One is all of you brought out points I hadn't noted before. And I thought that was extremely effective. And that was one of them, which I hadn't thought about. And two was that it can become, you've been to so many rounds of this, and I've been so many rounds of hearing it, you could get a little jaded with it. But again, you brought all something fresh and new. I would note for your final round here is that, and this may not be possible because I said it's sort of baked in the cake now, a little more voice variation would be effective. I know that. I think one of our prosecution, when they started their closing argument, the voice was a little bit low, and as a result, it got me to listen a little bit harder. But at the same time, when we get a big voice in there, that's very compelling too. So I think the most important thing is to be true to yourself, because if you try to act like Perry Mason, well, and you know who that is, but if you try to act like Perry Mason, he was also Ironside. Everybody remember that?
Let's go the other way.
Oh, really? Oh, my God. But if you're trying to portray a lawyer or somebody you see on TV or you think is very effective, and it's not true to your own personality, it's not going to work. So you have to kind of move in the confines of who you are and what you're comfortable with. And I think you all did that, and I think you all did it excellently. Good luck to everybody.
All right, I'll try to be brief. I sit in the misdemeanor courtroom, so I watch misdemeanor trials and young lawyers all of the time, and you guys were just phenomenal. And I mean this very sincerely. You are giving the young lawyers that I see every day a run for their money. And I've got a quick anecdote. One of the young lawyers that appeared in front of me in the trial very recently happened to be scoring the night before her closing argument in my case. She knocked her closing argument out of the park and later told me that her theme she borrowed from. I mean, that is how realistic what you guys are able to do here.
She didn't even stay to give comments because she went to go write it, I guess.
She stayed. She said I couldn't stay and give them comments exactly. She told me that. But I told her my closing. But anyway, so phenomenal job. Three things in particular that I think you guys excelled at that you don't see in earlier rounds or in the teams that don't make it here today is, number one, your command of the cases during the motion argument was beyond amazing. You knew not just your cases, but you knew the subtleties of the other side's cases and were able to distinguish them. And that is something that a lot of lawyers never achieve, trust me. Number two, your objections and how you handled the making of the objections and the responses to the objections and the responses to the responses of the objections, again, showed a command at a level that is truly remarkable for young lawyers, let alone for high school students. And then finally, your redirects were focused. Instead of just asking a bunch of scattershot questions because it was a long cross-examination, they were focused on the important points, and they're so much more effective when you do that. So keep it up. Congratulations to both of you. That was an amazing round.
So I'm going to keep it brief. I think a lot of what I wanted to say has been said earlier, which just goes to show that we have a lot of the same ideas. This was a really terrific round. I want to say that I think the theme for this was just masterful. Although I no longer litigate, I was a litigator not too terribly long ago, and I would have been terrified to meet any of you across the table. You did a phenomenal job. I think in particular the closing arguments were incredible, really beautifully done. The opening statements of the closing arguments were great too, but the sentences started off the closing arguments were incredible. The hearkening back to the opening statements were really amazing. I was blown away. I'm a pretty tough grader, and I don't think I've ever given a 10 before. I gave out several this time. I was really impressed. People did a phenomenal job. Oftentimes in my comments in earlier rounds, I write that it's hard to understand what people are saying. People don't speak clearly, and I get that. It's nerve-wracking being in front of a large group, and I did not have that problem here. People were They were very clear, they spoke very confidently. That's incredible. The poise I saw today was phenomenal. I did not see that lots of times when I was practicing and I would speak with people across the table. So just, I really was blown away. I'm so glad you've been able to come here and witness this. This is really an honor. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Donald Gaffney. I'm a judge here in Orange County. I've been on the bench since 2008. Prior to that, I was with the U.S. Attorney's Office doing federal prosecutions, my last 2 years doing terrorism cases. Before that, I was in the District Attorney's Office here in Orange County, and before that, a civil lawyer for 5 years. Prior to that, I was a student at Harvard Law School. For those of you trying to do math, my classmate was President Barack Obama. We did most of our first year together. His career took a different path than mine. These things happen. When I did a trial in front of a judge, he's our presiding judge now, Judge Martinez, in 1997, when I was a DA. At the end of the trial, he asked if I would be interested in coaching a mock trial team. And so I said yes, and I helped him coach Foothill, where his 3 sons went. And I have been involved in mock trial in one form or another, either coaching or sitting or judging the rounds ever since then. To the pretrial attorneys and all the years that I've done mock trial, I still do not know why people raise their hand and volunteer to be pretrial lawyers. It is a difficult task in the mock trial competition. You're going to get one of 2 types of judges. Either it's a cold bench, which means there's just a judge sitting there staring at you, not saying anything, or you get this, what is known as the hot bench. Questions are coming left and right. I thought the pretrial attorneys did an exceptional job answering all of the questions, distinguishing all the cases, not conceding points that could not be conceded. For the attorneys, outstanding. No use of notes. You used the courtroom, which I thought was very good. You were able to walk back and forth, sometimes speaking actually as you're walking, which I thought was good. Eye contact was very good. I usually stay away from names, but I'm going to try and pronounce one here. Please forgive me, Mr. Grafensteiner. Did I get it right? You either have an instinct for this or you're an incredible actor. I don't know. There's some interest in being a lawyer, either being an incredible actor or a good instinct. Either one will serve you well.
And he's only a sophomore.
Dr. Chung, where's Dr. Chung? Dr. Chung. Sometimes I'm surprised by things that I'm just not expecting, and sometimes people are very much into character, and that's what draws you, but you are an expert on that stand. You spoke slowly, you spoke understandably, and you made understandable something that, quite frankly, material I don't want to understand. Sawyer Smith. One of the other scorers pointed something out. I've judged 5 rounds of this so far, and only this morning, did the prosecution point out it all happened on the same day. You got fired, the threat came, the swatting came, all on the same day. That's a little tough to deal with. And that is as close to a Perry Mason moment as I think you're going to get. To all of you, it's so obvious to see why these 2 teams are here in the final round. Congratulations.
Good morning and congratulations to both teams. You both did an awesome job just all the way around. And to follow up on what Judge Knox said, you know, a lot of what you do and say can come in scripted, but the parts that can't be scripted are cross-examination, because you're examining your opponent, and the pretrial argument, because you are getting questions from the judge. And, you know, those are the aspects that really give you an opportunity to shine. And I thought that the pretrial arguments, the motion arguments were excellent, and I did make my own determination even before Judge Knox said it, that the cross-examinations were just incredible across the board, the way you handled the witnesses. And, you know, just everything about the trial was excellent. But I'm going to have one criticism, and I've been involved in mock trials since 1985. Coach, scoring attorney, judge. I was chair of the mock trial committee for several years, so I pay attention to the rules. And there was a repeated rule violation today which I'm going to bring out because whoever goes to state better make sure that you're on top of it. And it has to do with the timekeeping. You know, they give us judges this one-page orange piece of paper about changes to the rules, and on the timekeeping it says, note, clerks must provide the time remaining for both teams when a request is made by an attorney. And today, every time somebody asked for the time remaining, the clerk only gave for the requesting party. So that needs to be done for both teams. Also, the following rule, 3.8H, you know, you can hear the beeping, and I wasn't sure about if it's appropriate to stop the clock when a witness, when the attorney says, you know, can you approach the diagram, or when the attorney approaches the diagram. And 3.8H says that the time will not be stopped if witnesses are asked to approach the diagram or for other physical demonstrations. It doesn't specifically say if the attorney starts to approach the diagram, but it does appear that the clock probably runs. So whoever goes to state, make sure that you, you know, are on top of those rules. But that being said, you know, excellent performance by both teams, and whoever goes to state is going to be a very worthy representative for Orange County.
Hi, I'm Nikki Miliband, and I'm the president of the Orange County Bar Association. We have approximately 9,000 members here in Orange County, attorney members. So I'm hopeful that several of you will consider going into this profession, because I think it was an amazing. I'm the new one here. I have not scored. I've been involved and watched these for over 20 years now. Today was hands down the best one that I've observed. So congratulations to all of you, and I hope that you pursue this. And I specifically want to point out to the motion lawyers that handled that. That was phenomenal. I mean, especially with the interruptions that were coming from the bench and everything, the response on that. And someone mentioned here, a couple of people, I follow up with everybody else. Someone mentioned that, you know, gosh, a lot of the young lawyers that are coming in now, you are every bit as good. You're also as good as many of the seasoned lawyers. So congratulations.
Public defender always gets to go last, right? I'll tell you one thing. I, like Judge Miller and David over here, I coached for many, many years in the mock trial competitions. Unlike David, I only made it to this room once, and we didn't win.
Great team, though. Great team.
And I'll tell you one thing. I think my team made it to the semis a couple times. In all the years, I don't think I've ever seen a competition like this. You guys were phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. And I don't want to be here this afternoon either, because you both deserve to move on. You're both phenomenal. As Judge Wagner said also, I watch lawyers every day. I'm one of the supervisors in our office. I get to watch our trial lawyers, and a lot of the criminal cases in Orange County I watch. You guys are every bit as good as the lawyers we see every day. In fact, we're recruiting for new lawyers right now. I know. And I've had the privilege and joy of watching several of my former mock trial students become lawyers, and we even hired one of them recently. So you guys, I agree with the comments. You guys are the future. I think Judge Knox said it. If you guys are the future of our young people in the country, we're on a roll. So, and as Judge Gaffney said also, I normally don't like to call people out either, but I will with one from each side. Ms. Donovan, you were awesome. Again, you were all phenomenal, but I'm going to go with Miss Lee also. You did a really nice job. You made me feel like I was really watching that particular witness, so great job. Congratulations to both sides, and good luck.
Yes.
Apropos of what Dave said, I wouldn't sit here in the afternoon either, because not only was I a coach, but as a parent of a team member on his team for 4 years. And I literally sat in the last row in the back cringing because I help coach, and my son did pretrial, so I really know about that pretrial motion as well. So parents, enjoy it. Your kids are wonderful, but enjoy this afternoon.
Are we doing the MVP?
That was my question.
No.
No, okay.
You're all MVPs.
Okay, so I'm going to do, everybody's an MVP.
Would we be allowed to do an honorary MVP?
Well, maybe after this afternoon's competition, because there's going to be the same teams this afternoon, so. Anyway, is there anything else? This court is adjourned.
Oh,